Like,
We did stupid stuff too, and we got caught and lectured. One sec. Maddie, what do you need?
I've got a kid interruption now. Hey guys, I'm on my podcast.
Cool. Well, welcome back to the Grumpy Dad podcast. Thanks for joining me again, Michael. Happy to be here. I'm Nate.
Glad to be here.
We're going to talk about parenting, fatherhood, and ways to be less grumpy, and all the goodness of
and how we make it through somehow.
Yeah.
We've made it every day thus far, and we're gonna make the next ones too.
Yeah, it's every day's hopefully a little better than the last, and yeah, I haven't killed my kids yet, so we'll just keep that as the gold standard.
Yeah, right. That's the baseline. If we're doing that, that's the barrier for success. That's it.
Well, let's get into it. We're going to start with why you were grumpy and why was it worth it. And actually, I want to start today because I had
go for it.
A absolutely horrific last 2 weeks. Not like kids or anything, just beyond stressful.
Yeah.
I do part-time customer service for a tax company during tax season. And this tax season has just been slammed. I mean, just absolutely slammed. I thought I would have a lot more time. We planned some things, some family events this weekend. And last
That's right, because you said family was in town, right?
Yeah. And on top of that, I had to work. I couldn't. It's one of those, normally you can take time off, skip some shifts, whatever you need to do, find people to cover. But, April 15th is tax day.
Right.
And so the week leading up to it, my company basically says nobody can take time off. You can't do anything. You have to work your scheduled shifts. And then the week of taxes, extra shifts, everybody. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. That's the expectation. It's a seasonal job. I don't, it's fine. Except when I'm not expecting way more people to be using our software than I thought they would be. And then on top of that, we had some family events, had family in town, and it was just so hectic and so stressful and so
everything all at once.
Yeah, just everything. I don't feel like I had any terrible blow up on my kids moments because luckily all their cousins were in town too. So they kind of stayed out of my hair. It was more like now I have to deal with adult problems, right? Like feeding people and where they sleep and making sure there's enough hot water and all this stuff, having parents in town and then working additional extra stressful, shifts in customer service. So just kind of a wild week. One of the things that I kind of recognized though, and I was just reflecting on changes, and obviously I've been through a lot of changes in the last 5 years and how I've been feeling about my identity as a, stay-at-home dad. And while I have this work, mostly my role still is to be that stay-at-home parent. And one of the things that I realized I needed to cut myself a little slack on was I was starting to get really stressed and anxious and upset at myself for not getting housework stuff done. That's kind of I was really trying to get food on the table and keep the dishes clean and straighten up the house and make sure the kids had laundry and lunch stuff, or, all the normal stuff. And I was sitting there why can't I just how come all these things are falling through the cracks? And then, realizing one day, oh yeah, because I'm working extra hours. It's extra stressful at work. I'm doing all these things. And it just made me really reevaluate, right? Oh, I am prioritizing the things that keep my family functioning, right? And that felt good to be okay, well, at least I know and I recognize and I've kind of embodied that identity and I'm worrying about those things, and that felt good. And then I had to sit back and say, and it's okay if those things, don't get done in this season, right? Tax season's not forever, and it's really just ramps up these 2 weeks, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay if laundry gets backed up, and it's okay if, we eat out some extra and we just do Costco frozen meals. That's just fine for this small section of my life on a yearly basis. So That felt good. Again, I had to kind of kick myself in the pants to get to that point, obviously, but
Yeah.
it was
I
nice
wonder
to
if
have
that's
that
like
kind
a
of
millennial
reminder.
thing or if it's broader where it's like
I
the
don't
sense
know.
of like I have to do it and I have to do it right now and if I'm even a little bit behind, it's
Yeah.
over, you know? Cuz I
Hmm.
have projects where I have to push those feelings deep down
Yep.
and
Yep.
and I know my wife has expressed feeling that way, and
100%.
yeah, it's always easy like outside looking in to tell people, oh, like it's fine, just relax, it's not that important. But then when it happens to you, it's just like, no, it has to happen right this second.
Right.
Everything is important, everything is vital, and the world's
Yeah.
gonna fall apart if I don't do it. And so I don't know that I know the answer to that, but good for you to find a way out of it.
One sec. Maddie, what do you need? Okay, can you show me after I'm done recording my podcast? Um, yeah, it's funny. I have a book that I really, really love and recommend to everybody. And I don't know if I've recommended it here before, but it's called Essentialism.
I don't think you've
Trying
mentioned
to
it.
remember the what is the author's name is. Come on, Bluetooth keyboard, connect. Um, it's not Cal Newport. That's my other favorite book. Yeah, so it's Essentialism, the disciplined pursuit of less. And the
Hmm.
author is not showing up. Come on, Google. There it is. Greg McEwen. Sorry about that. One of my favorite books, and one of the things that he talks about is he kind of shares stories about priorities and what they are, how you prioritize, and how to basically, it's the disciplined pursuit of less is the tagline. It's how do we not be so busy with nonsense, kind of, is
Yeah.
this idea. And I love one of the things that he shares is I love etymology, like where words come from.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about the word priority in the English language never had a pluralization until like the 1800s.
Interesting.
So you couldn't like priorities what didn't exist in the English language for thousands of years. And it wasn't until like post-industrialist, 18 1900s that we started using that as a plural. Um, and so he kind of talks about that concept a little bit in one of the chapters that you can only really prioritize one thing. Like that's just if you make a list, there's one thing at the top. And if you make a list of priorities, great, but there's still something at the top,
Yeah.
right? And if that's the most important thing, then like kind of like why do you even have the list? Just work on the
There's
one thing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I really like that concept, and it's something I have to kind of reiterate to myself every year. Just it was really helpful when I was in the working space in communicating and talking with stakeholders and bosses and managers and stuff, and trying to help them conceptualize, hey, what should I be working on? What should the developers be working on? What should the people that I'm associated with, how should we be, what should we be prioritizing? And especially in a software space, that becomes super critical because you know you have to really compartmentalize and be like, what features are the most important thing, what drives the bottom line, what keeps users around, et cetera, et cetera. But in a family situation, it's the same thing, right? Like for this span of a couple of weeks, the most important thing is to just keep up with my work and keep my job
Yeah.
going, and figure that out. And it's okay to say no to
Yeah.
other things that are important, right? And that's what the book really is all about, is you have to be willing to say no to things that are good and important
Yeah.
because they aren't the goodest, the most good and the most important.
Yeah.
So, and I really love that.
That's awesome. That makes sense. That's something we had to just decide this week. There's this track meet that we really want to go to in Kansas this summer. And yesterday we realized, like, with everything going on, we just have to drop it, which feels awful because we love the people there. It's a smaller meet and we like being a part of that community, but we just can't do it. And it's this wonderful thing that we just can't do because there are other priorities.
Yep.
It stinks.
It always making sacrifices is the worst.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, cool. You feel like you're able to get a breather now? Like, is it done or is there still like residual cleanup stuff?
Yeah, there's some residual cleanup, but I mean, it's very, very minimal, right? It's, everybody that kind of waited too long, and now the customer service is just basically file an extension, get it in as quick as you can, and
Yeah.
like, that's kind of the idea. But yeah, so I'm officially done last day in April, but
Okay.
much more chill moving forward. So I already like did laundry yesterday, did a bunch of meal prepping this morning. I'm already like,
Nice.
nice to get. It feels so good to get that stuff
Yeah.
back in the equation. So yeah.
Cool.
Well, what about
That
you,
sounds
Mike?
good.
Why were you grumpy this week or last couple of weeks? Because
Oh man.
why
Well,
was it worth
I
it?
I had an incident this week that really surprised me. And I can't remember if I mentioned it in our friend chat, the one where I lectured those teenage
Yeah,
boys.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So it didn't really make me grumpy. Like I had a surprisingly ungrumpy week. We were talking beforehand, and like the week was almost so smooth that I don't really remember much. It was good, but there. So I'm driving to Domino's down the street. It's like, I mean, it's our house is at the first address, and Domino's is the last address of the street. Just driving down
sure.
to pick up pizza because it was just me and the boys one night. And on the way, I'm driving in my MR2, which I had the top down, so in a convertible. All of a sudden, my windshield, face just gets sprayed with water. And my first thought was that someone had their windshield washer fluid, but I immediately knew that it was water. And so I thought maybe they angled it out because we used to do that in high school where we would angle our
Sure.
windshield washer fluids and so we could squirt people. But then I immediately look and I see a squirt gun go in the window. And so I'm thinking there's like a 6-year-old kid in the back seat. And my instinct was different than normal. Normally I'd be just frustrated. I would have went on. I flipped a U so fast on that residential street and I followed that car. I got behind it and I just immediately started following it and followed all the way to their house. And they parked in their driveway in a cul-de-sac, and I sat in the street and I started calling out to them. I was like, "Excuse me, hi, I'd like to talk to someone." Just got sprayed in the face, thinking there's a mom in the driver's seat and like a little kid in the
Yeah,
back seat to let
yeah,
them know, "Hey, your kid is doing this stuff."
yeah.
And but I didn't want to get out of the car, thinking that was the situation. I'm not a small person, and I didn't want to sound
Intimidate
aggressive or
anybody. Yeah,
yeah. So I stayed sitting in my car and I just called out to them while they were parked in their garage. And as I'm calling out to them, the dad walks through the garage and I'm like, "Excuse me, sir. I was driving along and I got sprayed in the face, by a squirt gun. I would just really like to talk to, whoever did that."
yeah,
And he's like, 1 second, please stay right there. I see him go around to the back of the car, reach in the window, grab the squirt gun, yank it out, set it on like a box in the garage, open the door for the kid, and this like 14-year-old kid steps out,
oh,
and his older brother, who's probably 16 or 17,
yeah.
steps out of the driver's, and the dad. I mean, I knew that my job here was not to punish this kid, right?
Right,
To not
sure.
rip into him. The dad made it very clear that he had that covered. But anyway, so the dad made the kid come apologize to me, and then the kid apologized from the top of the driveway, and the dad was like, "No, go down there and apologize to him." So kudos to the dad. I think he did the
Yeah,
right
yeah,
thing. Kid comes up, and I just start lecturing him. I'm like, "I get it. Like, I really do. You can't do this stuff, especially in your own neighborhood. And if you play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes. Like,
yeah.
this could go really bad really fast." And anyway, so I lectured the kid and, told the dad thank you and let them on their way. Because it's like, dude, if I'm a psychopath, I know where you live now. I know what your car looks like. Luckily, I don't think I am, at least not in that regard. And so it was just stupid. Kids being stupid. I did
Yeah,
stupid
yeah.
stuff too. And so I wanted it to be a
Yeah, but
moment to like,
we did stupid stuff too, and we got caught and lectured.
right, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's what
It,
happens. You
and
learn, you grow,
I'm
and you
I'm not even like against pranks, but like if you do a
no.
prank, you have to be willing to bear the consequences of that because you don't get
Sure,
to choose other
yeah.
people's reactions.
No.
And it's trying to communicate like, hey, this is a checkpoint in your life that this was not a good idea.
Yeah.
You need to put a little more thought into this one. Anyway, but the weirdest part is that when I turned around, I went and got my Domino's and I felt fine. And that's what made me feel old. Like this was
Yeah.
just another day. Because
Right.
normally confrontation like
Got
that
them.
throughout my whole life, my heart would be like racing. I'd feel adrenaline because
Sure.
I usually opt not to. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
But this time my instinct was, I'm going to follow this car to their house. I'm going to confront them. And I just went and got pizza.
Yep.
And I was like, what is happening? I am almost
Old
40.
man.
That's what's,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
the true
I
grumpy
confronted
dad
it.
moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did it to a door to door salesman the other day that was pushy, where I told him, I was like, dude, I have
Get
told you
off.
no twice. I'm
Yeah.
closing the door now. This conversation's over.
Yeah.
And just went about my day.
Yeah. You just get to a
So
point, right, where
it's
you just
bizarre.
don't have the energy to spend on
And
other
that's what it
people's
is.
mental, state. And
Yeah, my brother in law and sister in law were over last night, he and his wife, and we were talking with my wife, and I was like, I've just reached the point where like my wife and my family are so important and so like it's such a nice place to be that my threshold for crap I'm willing to tolerate that would interrupt with that has gotten very high,
yes, right.
you know? And so anyway, it's just bizarre.
That's
Um,
so, yeah. What a story.
yeah,
Because
I
I
yelled
think
at a,
most people's reaction is like, "Oh man, just like kids be kids." But at the same time, it's like, if it was my kid, I
I
would
would want
hope,
someone to say something.
right? I would want somebody to follow them home and put the fear of God in them, right? Like that's
Yeah.
like, yeah. Oh, they were just squirting people driving past. Like, well, sure.
But
And
what's the
I would hope,
escalation of that?
right? And
You
right,
know?
exactly. Like, and I would hope that if somebody would tell me that my kids were out there doing that, right? So
Yeah.
that I could,
They'll think twice about doing something stupid to other people because someone might follow them home.
yeah.
You know?
And also,
It's
my biggest thing with my kids is not my biggest thing. I always give them crap when I'm like, "How did you even get caught?" I'm like, if you're gonna go do stuff, like, at least be smart about it. Because, like you said, like you're doing it in your own neighborhood. Like
going
you're
20
driving
miles an
around,
hour.
right? Like, what if you're gonna go be a punk, and I guess that speaks to the state of 14-year-old and 16-year-old brains. But it's one of those things. It's like you live here. What do
Yeah.
you think is going to happen? Like, just
Yeah.
nobody's going to recognize your car or you. None of your neighbors have kids that are in your class at school. Like, nothing. Like, come on, man. Come
It's
on.
like it's like your green Nissan Altima with tinted taillights.
Yeah,
Like
super
I know
obvious
your car
car.
now.
Yeah.
Every time I see you, I'm going to look at you now. And like kids have always been like this. My wife growing up in a rural area, their
Yeah.
dad made a steel mailbox that was cemented into the ground because of kids hitting him with baseball bats and then blowing him up. So like even
Yep.
way worse offenses. But yeah, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. But I
Exactly.
guess it never happened after he built that because they tried it again and
Yeah.
they probably
Totaled
had the
somebody's
whole
car.
like the
Yeah.
shaking hands. You hit that box with the bat just wrong and you're gonna lose. So
Well,
anyway, so that happened this
good for
week.
you for being a grumpy dad,
I'm
supporting
just like, man,
supporting
what's
parenting
next?
across the neighborhood.
What's next? Am I gonna go to a town hall and start?
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
I,
I don't know.
I think
It
it's
surprised
important
me.
though. I feel like as a community, especially in post COVID, right, we talk a lot about the male loneliness epidemic and just how isolated people feel and all, there's all of these things. And I think that going and knocking on your neighbor's door and be like, hey, your kid was messing with my stuff or, broke a window, like all of these things, it's like, that's how we reconnect,
Yeah,
that's how we police each other. We our neighborhood, we watch out for each other and each other's kids, and that's what we want. And hopefully those kids go screw around and continue to make mistakes and continue to grow, and that none of those mistakes involve squirting people in their neighborhood
yeah.
with a squirt gun from a moving car. Like,
Yeah, it was just wild, and I feel like part of it could be not to get too much on a tangent, but like we're so used to dealing with stuff online, customer service, crappy customer
mhm,
service. Like it's very easy to get nasty with a customer service agent. That people
mhm,
might default to that. It's like you forget that in real life you can just have a conversation and the other person can be reasonable. Like, oh, that does suck. Thanks for telling me.
right,
Because, like you said, I want to know if my kid did something really, really dumb that my friends' parents be like, "Hey, just so you're aware, here's what happened," because
yeah,
that's how I would behave. I would think I would behave, and this is what we are missing as a community. At least in a lot of communities. I'm sure there's plenty of
Right.
communities that
Yeah,
still have
sure.
that.
But I also
But
like, I think props to that dad for number one, like
right.
letting, forcing, not forcing, but, encouraging the apology. And number two, letting you kind of do some of that, right? Because I think a lot of
Yeah.
times, and I know this was me growing up, right? You don't take your parents seriously, but other adults, for some reason, that rings a little harder. And for him to recognize, like, here's a good scenario for him to learn that it's not just my rules, it's not just me. Like, the rest of the world has generally accepted societal things that we've agreed to,
The social
that are
contract.
right, the social contract. And this guy's going to explain it to you because apparently I'm not, it's not covered when I do it. So,
Right. Yeah. You went out in the world and you did not adhere to the social contract. So the world's going to tell you about it,
yeah.
And
And I think
anyway,
that's a
so
really good thing for him. So, neat
yeah, it
story.
was super interesting. And then the other thing on the good side with my boys, because this immediately made me think of my boys, right? With their ages apart.
Mhm.
And I didn't bring it up when I was talking to them, but anyway, just connected with my boys while the girls were out. I recently got an RC car, and it has awakened a piece of 10-year-old me that I didn't realize how dormant it was. Because when I was a kid, I wanted a legit RC car. I had
Yeah.
a buddy that had a nitro RC car that would scream down the street at like 40
Oh,
miles an hour
yeah.
or whatever. And that was like, ever since I can remember, it's like, I want that, And it turns out decent RC cars are not nearly as expensive as you think they are, and they're very capable. And so
And
we had
we
an
have a lot more
activity,
disposable income than we did when we were
and we
kids.
do. So I have like my allowance money that I give myself a little bit piled
Yeah.
up, and we had an activity with the youth where they had RC cars. We have a dirt field next to our house with kids have like put in dirt jumps for bikes and stuff, and
Mhm.
so it's great for RC cars. After we had the event, I was like, I'm just gonna look at them. I found one, and we've been ripping on it every day, and it has a speed control. So for the boys, I just turn down the speed control and I give it to them, and they, oh my gosh, they start bouncing because they're just so excited. Like
Yeah.
they take one hand off the steering and they're just holding the trigger and they're just like, ah, because they think it's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to be able to give them that experience that I wanted so bad when I was a kid, and allow them that. So that was really fun, and they've been super respectful about it. They haven't been super whiny or complaining, which sometimes when you give them
Yeah.
exciting stuff,
Do
that's all they want to
things.
do,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And anyway, so that was really cool this week. It's been nice to have Becca home this week, and yeah, busy but smooth, all
It's
things
good.
considered.
Yeah. Not bad.
Yep.
Well, cool. I want to just wrap up our kind of previous last couple of weeks. We talked a lot about health and fitness and, uh, you know, what that looks like as a busy parent and busy father. And I want to just kind of wrap up that conversation by talking about recovery and rest, because I think this is a piece that doesn't get enough. We talked about diet, we talked about exercise, we talked about starting programs and timing and how all of that works. And it feels like the final cap to this needs to be, hey, you got to take it easy sometimes too, and especially as we get older and recovery takes longer and will continue to take longer, right? You have to remember, hey, you got to give yourself breaks. You got to take your ibuprofen, and you got to find ways to rest both physically and mentally.
I think especially for our very specific demographic of young fathers who are busy regardless of what their situation is and trying to manage that, I think that this is often so cast aside as an expendable part of their experience where they just need to go 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 go, and they don't utilize rest and recovery in the way that it can be valuable to them. So
Hmm.
hopefully we can provide some insights of things that have worked for us that they can take home and implement in their life, which if you want to be a less grumpy dad, it doesn't come from working really hard on your diet. It doesn't come from all the exercise in the gym, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
It's really going to come from understanding how to rest and recover. Like
Yes.
that's where the grumpies are really going to settle down and take a back seat. So I think this is a very vital part of it.
Oh yeah, and I think I've mentioned this before, but one of the things that I've learned in the last couple of years is basically, if I don't get a good night's sleep, there's like a 99% chance I'm going to yell at my kids.
Oh, I've got a story of that
Just
this week. I didn't
yeah,
yell, but it it wasn't great.
yeah. You, like you just it feels like there's a direct correlation between my patience with my children and how much rest I got, how much sleep specifically I got
Yeah. I
before.
mean, it's your patience in general. It's like your mind has inflammation, and then
Mm-hmm.
the number one prodder of your attention and your demeanor is a kid, right? They're going to come back and they're going to, hey, hey, hey. And so if you're already feeling like that, that's where problems are going to happen. It's very
Well,
easy to outlet there.
and I want to distinguish between rest and sleep because I think they're related, but they are distinctly different. Because specifically in
Absolutely.
my situation, right, especially this week, I've been really stressed, I've been really busy, and I haven't had a lot of time just to like kick back and relax. And when that happens, right, especially I've been working late, I have a hard time turning my brain off and end up playing video games, just trying to relax and trying to tone down all of the noise. And then I find that I've blown past my bedtime because I just needed to that decompression period. And so like I said, and then I'm not sleeping. So it's like I'm trying to rest, so there's two different kind of aspects here, right? There's like kind of the mental recovery and personal time and, coming to terms and being present with yourself. And then there's sleep. And sleep doesn't necessarily give you that, right? Like sleep is critical, don't get me wrong. But if you're not getting that
The
kind of
right sleep. Sleep is
right,
a very broad range, as far as what sleep is considered,
right.
and I can talk in depth on that. Um, and I think it's just so important that people truly understand. I was going to ask you a question. So, would you say, like in the last 7 days, how many times would you say you kept to a good bedtime versus you blow past it?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm
Because this is the
usually pretty
inventory
good.
part of it, right? Where
Yeah, yeah, no,
people
I like this.
don't even realize, and I'm this way as well, how bad when they get into a bad habit, like how bad it really is.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, maybe that's something that you can look at.
Yes, 100%. I normally I'm like 5, 6 days a week. I
Awesome.
go to bed on time with like the real bedtime routine and get a pretty good night's sleep.
Good.
This week it's been like maybe once,
Yeah. Which makes
and
sense.
yeah, and
Like you
again it's
said
a
before,
seasonal
when
thing,
when
right?
things
But
get crazy, sometimes it just is white knuckle for a little bit.
mhm,
But
mhm,
something I've learned is just because I'm uncomfortable does not mean I'm unwell, you know? And
right,
so sometimes it's just like I just have to bear it. It will end like it always has before, and hopefully can get back into it.
yeah, and so yeah, exactly what you're saying. I think that you got to give yourself a baseline, right? So that you have something to go back to. Um, and I think that's still what I'm trying to establish. I feel like, going back to the diet conversation, again, stress, family in town, people that weren't eating the same way I did kind of shot a lot of that and made it difficult to keep up with. But I have my baseline to return to now. And that
So
feels
because you
really
have your
good.
baseline, how did you feel when that was happening? Did you feel like I can allow this to happen without guilt because I know what I can go back to? Or did you have that sense in the back of your mind like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this and ruining, this moment that you can take? What do you think?
I feel like I did a pretty good job of just kind of letting it be. The nice thing was I had enough kind of meal prepped stuff to at least nail my breakfasts in the morning. That felt pretty solid because I knew that if I
Nice.
could at least start the day with that, like it kind of helps feed everything in. And then, you got family in town, they want to eat out, they want to just hang out, nobody wants to cook or do dishes. You end up, and it's like, okay, it's fine, right? You just
Yeah.
eat what everybody else is eating. I don't need to.
I've got a kid interruption now. Hey
Oh,
guys,
me too.
I'm on my podcast. Do you guys need something? Love you. Ross is pulling a bag of chips out, staring at me, and Violet goes, bye guys.
They'll learn to love the podcast because they can get away with
Can you
anything
turn
while
off
we're
the light?
recording.
There we go.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, they happen to have the day off today.
Our kids do too. Actually,
Oh,
I got
really?
I got all four home.
Car-
Yeah.
Carmen doesn't because she's in middle school and it was just an elementary school day off. She
Oh,
immediately was like, I should get the day off too. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Sorry.
that doesn't work like that. No, so I think, like I said, I think that there's two different pieces to this, right? There's the sleep part, which is very very important, but there's also the hey, you need waking rest as well. You need time to
Yep.
let your brain process and return to baseline while you're awake. You can't just sleep away a lot of this stuff,
Yeah.
especially since if you're not doing that, then your sleep is bad. And that's kind of what I experienced this week. Is there were days where I went to bed within my normal time frame and I had either really bad sleep or woke up worse, stressed, more anxious than I went to sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that's been, I've just been thinking about it a lot because I knew that this was going to be our topic this week. So I've been thinking about it a lot. That's kind of where I landed was I need to do a better job of finding actual things that are restful and let me just kind of chill. The big realization was I probably shouldn't play multiplayer games when I'm having a stressful week. The
Oh, yeah.
competitive stuff, right? Like
I've
that's
cut that out of my
normally.
life.
Mhm.
Like like I used to play Call of Duty, and it's one thing if I'm playing with friends, that's very different. But if I was like playing by myself, and I reached a point where I can't handle it, so this can't be a part of my life anymore.
Mhm.
And I felt really dumb for that. And PUBG is like my go-to game for that.
Yep.
But I'll play with bots, I'll play casual, and even sometimes with that, if I start to feel frustrated, I'm just like, okay, that's
Yep.
it. Like, man, why can't we just have fun anymore?
And that's like no. There's a lot of times that it is really chill. That I have a good group of people that I play with. I play Dota too, and I love it. It's
Nice.
a lot of fun. Very addicting game. Nobody should play it. But when I'm in hyper stressful situations, when I'm having those white knuckle, make it to the next break kind of moments, I realize like I probably need to just play, Minecraft. I need to just go
Yeah.
play something creative, just like decompress, build a little world, Factorio, Astroneer, like something just very like cozy, I guess, for lack of a better term, or just
Yeah.
use a different part of my brain. Especially the work I've been doing, right, is very customer service. So it's very like I have to feel very empathetic and like process people's emotions and help them through difficult situations, like all of these things. And when I'm done, I don't want to do that. I don't want to interact with people. I don't want to think about other people or their feelings anymore. And so it's nice to have some of those like more analytical engineering type games. That's just like, here, solve some problems in
Yeah.
production lines, right? And mining and developing a factory or whatever it is, right?
Right.
Um, and I've realized like as much as I want to just like hang out with my same group and just play that same game, it doesn't give me, it's nice, it's fine during the week and in normal situations. When stress and anxiety and other things ramp up due to the season changes, work, whatever it is, I probably need to pull back and do,
Yeah.
find a different way to rest or a different game to kind of chill with. It's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not super fun to realize that because you're like, no, I just want to do whatever I want all the time, forever.
Yeah.
But it's like,
No.
probably, I need to, again, if my objective is not to be as grumpy with my kids, I need to take that time to just play something
Right.
else, chill, get my head back on straight, come back to baseline. So
Well, that
kind
kind
of
of
what
leads into something that I've learned. I learned it. It was probably like 10 years ago. I don't remember how long ago. I was in a class, and the idea of let me write. I wrote it down specifically. So the idea of spending your time versus investing your time. And I think that on the surface, that concept can get very out of hand because people might hear it and think, oh, at all times I need to be working and doing the next thing and building my future, blah, blah, blah. And that's not what it means. What it means is um, just because you're not wasting your time doesn't mean you are doing something worthwhile. Like you're
right.
investing in, because your time is the most valuable thing that you have. And if you're going to spend it, like I am just putting it out there, what are you getting in return? And that determines whether or not it's being invested. I hope that that's clear. And that applies very much to recovery. And
Mm,
I think that for me at least, has been a very strong guiding light into what would be a good way to recover. Sitting on my phone, playing a game, sometimes might be the right move. Like you said, like if I've reached a certain point where I can't just go to sleep, but I'm not in a position to engage. Maybe I just need to give myself 5 minutes of empty or numbing or whatever. And maybe that's not the healthiest way, but it also keeps me from, staying up late and playing video games for 4 hours. Like
Sure.
that's just, I can't do that anymore. Whereas if I'm with a group, and we talked about this in the very beginning, that's right. With your
Yeah, my
sliders of,
sliders. Yeah,
yeah. And
probably need a name for that,
we'll figure it out.
but
And so this applies to rest, like, sleeping, taking a nap. Like, am what I'm doing keeping me from doing the next thing that I need to do? And I think as dads, we bear naturally as men responsibility, right? Like we find a lot of purpose in what we are responsible
Mhm.
for, but that also is a primary stressor because sometimes I want to go do this own thing, but I'm responsible for the stuff over here. And so being able to, again, take an inventory and sit down and think, okay, this kind of rest that I'm taking, this kind of moment that I'm taking, am I just numbing to protect myself, or am I actually utilizing this in a way that it pays returns on the next thing that's going to come? Because that next thing is going to come no matter what, no matter how prepared you are, whether it's
Yeah,
bedtime routine, whether it's going to work the next day, it's going to happen. And so in what you're doing, are you able to take that moment to rebuild and recover without spending more of yourself that makes you even less prepared for that next thing?
right. I
And
like.
so that guides a lot of my choices.
Yeah, I like that analogy of like, because I do have this on my notes that something I've noticed in those last couple of weeks is that doom scrolling short form content is not actually that restful, right? Like it doesn't give
No.
you the deep rest that you need to recover and recharge. And I'm not gonna sit here and obviously if it went away, I think everybody would be better off. But
Yep.
it does kind of fulfill that role of almost like an ibuprofen for pain, right? Like it'll help numb, it'll help you know give you something to mitigate where you're at, the stress, anxiety, and you can just doom scroll for a little bit and just kind of forget about how the rest of the world is doing. But at the same time, it's not helping you recover from the actual thing that you're trying to recover from mentally.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that there's a place for it, and I think that it's good for some things, but I would not call it something that you do for rest, right? Like
Right.
it's an in between activity to kind of get you between from point A to point B to to mitigate some of the pain for lack of it, but like like the stress, the anxiety, the and whether that's physical, emotional, whatever it is, it kind of helps bridge that gap. I think the bigger issue right now is that the way that they're set up, they are more like like uh it's more like Percocet than ibuprofen.
Well,
It's
right.
so addictive, and it's like could be so good as like a bridge, an emotional bridge between different things in life, but at the moment it's just so addictive. It's so
Well,
hard
that's why
to
they call it the
recommend
attention
it.
economy,
Hmm.
because once they've already pulled our money, the last thing they have to take, if I'm going to speak about big tech, right,
Yeah,
is our attention. And so what they're doing is they are extracting value from your attention. You are spending neurons on that content. And when you spend it on that, especially within the same day, those are no longer available for you later in that day because you have to recover when you are doing that, you know?
hmm,
And which is why, you see a ton of videos on like dopamine resets and all that kind of stuff. And I'm
hmm,
not going to make any claims around the neuroscience of that. But what I do notice is that if I allow myself emptiness, in fact, this happened just yesterday. So I went to my daughter's track meet, and when she did long jump, we had to wait for like an hour and a half. It was the last event. It ran so long. And I could have just sat there on my phone and just numbed for an hour and a half. I didn't have anywhere to
yeah,
be. I didn't have anyone to talk to. My daughter was with her friends. I could have just not been there. But instead, I decided to set it down. I didn't even have my headphones in. I just watched. I just
yeah,
sat and watched. And that was my entertainment. And when I came home after that, I noticed last night, reflecting on it now, that I had way more energy to engage with my kids, to engage. My brother in law and his wife were over. Um, that it's like I was building this reservoir of engagement.
Right.
And I think, knowing myself, that it was directly related to not spending it in those moments just so I wasn't as uncomfortable, you know?
Yeah.
It's like
There's a great
credits.
book. There's a great book, which I'm sure maybe this will just be our whole next episode, but it was called Digital Minimalism. It's by Cal Newport. He actually wrote a series of books about uh, productivity. The big one that got famous was called Deep Work, and he talks about the societal productivity career benefits of being able to really engage in deep work that is uninterrupted by this was made early 2000s, and he was mostly talking about, hey, email is like this huge productivity suck, right? And now in the age we're in, it's like email is like the least
That's
of people's
nothing.
worries, right? But one of the things that he regularly talks about is how deep work actually feeds into deep rest. That being able to engage with something for 4 to 6 hours and really sink your teeth into it and make some real progress on a problem actually allows you to rest better, right? Because you've engaged your brain, you've put that, it's ramped up, it's gotten the revolutions that it needs, and now it actually has an easier time coming down to into a restful state. But referencing what you were talking about, he's got a thing in digital minimalism where he talks about there's a portion of our brain that we use um, to communicate, and it's specifically triggered when we're in person with people. And it's this portion of your brain that's in charge of monitoring the facial expressions, the vocal inflections, the body language, right? There's a very specific part of the brain that is monitoring all of those things in other people as you talk and communicate with them. And that part of the brain, kind of like what you're talking about, needs to be engaged and needs to be adjusted. And it's connected with other parts of our brain that are, in charge of dopamine and serotonin and, engaging all these other parts of the brain. And they talk to each other and communicate. And when you scroll or even just video chat with somebody or even call somebody, it's not engaging your brain in the same way. And it's not that those things are all bad, right? But the idea is that, in this study that they did, that when you separate those two aspects of the brain, right? Like, I'm doing a terrible job explaining this, but when you don't activate this portion of the brain, but you activate this portion, which is what kind of you're watching other people's lives and you're getting the dopamine, the serotonin, like all of these other hormones and things without engaging the part of your brain that says, are they talking to me, or the facial expressions? What am I doing? How am I interacting with this person in real life? It doesn't create it doesn't create the same things in your brain, and it messes with basically your brain chemistry for interacting with other people. And so what you're describing, right, like you, instead of having that all going on, you just let it all drain out and just be at peace and just be at zero. And then when
Yeah.
you engaged with somebody in real life, all of a sudden you felt like, oh, this is interesting, I want to be here, I want to talk with them, I want to have a good conversation, and all of the correct parts of your brain are now interacting with the rest of the brain. So
That's
maybe next time
interesting.
I'll have a better explanation, but it was really interesting to think about, like, okay, how am I interacting with people, and how does that change in digital versus like in person, and
Yeah.
where does your energy come from, and where does your motivation and all of that stuff. But
And I think it's important to note also that that has its own limits, I'm sure, right? Like I
oh
know for
yeah,
me,
for
I
sure.
get socialized out where I do feel the benefits of that.
Hmm.
And it's like, but when I'm done and I'm tired, I have to be done. In fact, we play D&D. We have a D&D group, and we were kind of like, we had gone for a few hours, and it was at that tipping point of like, oh, do we move a little bit more? Do we keep going? And I knew, I was like, I no, I'm done.
I'm good. Yeah,
And yeah, like
let's
this was a
call it
lot of
there.
fun. It's getting a little bit later, and I am done. So I was like,
Hmm.
I was just immediate to volunteer. And my wife was really grateful for that, because that's something she's really trying to work on. She's so empathetic. She has a hard time being able to engage in that way. And
Yeah.
if she needs something, she'll put the group before herself. And so I was able to just be like, we're going home.
Yeah.
And we did. And I got a great night's sleep. And the next day was great. But that easily could have spun out of control. But I realized I got my fill of what you were talking about. Like, I got the engagement, the socialization. We had a great time. And when it was done, it was done. Didn't try to overstay our welcome, didn't try
Mhm.
to overstay the moment. And it was great. And I'm getting better at that. I'm definitely not always great. I definitely stay up too late
Yeah.
occasionally, although not as much anymore. I've reached the point in my sleep where I can't sleep in. I
Mhm.
literally cannot sleep in. I could count on one hand the number of times I've actually stayed asleep past 8 o'clock in the last 5 years, maybe
Yeah.
more.
I'm the
And it's
same
because,
way.
and it's not by choice. My body has just reached the point where my sleep schedule has been so regular that if I go to bed at 1 o'clock, I'm still going to get up at 7.
Yeah.
And that's like later than normal, which again, back to the feeling like an old man, like it's all
Yeah.
one piece at a time, just setting in.
Yep.
Um,
Eating
but I'm
dinner
really
at three
grateful for
o'clock
it.
soon.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I'm really grateful for that routine because I have noticed the benefits. So
Mhm.
back to the discussion of rest, especially when we were talking about sleep. I mentioned this a couple episodes ago. If you can invest in getting your sleep situation sorted, get yourself a mattress, go mattress shopping,
Mhm.
feel the different mattresses, find something that you'll probably find something that you lay down on and it will feel dramatically different to your body. At least that happened to my wife and I. We tried a
Yeah.
bunch. One mattress we laid on and we were both like, oh my gosh, we didn't know that we could feel this way when we were laying down.
Yeah.
And so we spent the money and now it's a wonderful place to be every single night that we look forward to. So I recommend people make that space, whatever it is, a space that you can look forward to every night, and really get a good sleep routine in. Everyone's a
These
little
are
bit different how much they need, but get a routine in. If you're a human, you're going to need a routine.
these are my favorite adult old person dad conversations. Is super domestic products. I think you get super niche with.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, my wife, I thought I loved soft beds for the longest time, and my wife was like, "No, I don't think so." And that's my now. This is my hot take is I think everybody should be on a firmer bed than they think they need.
Yeah.
Like I really 100% believe that. We this is where it gets crazy. We did a ton of research and found that there's these you can get mattresses made of latex foam.
Mm-hmm.
This is the they got they're kind of like a purple mattress. They're their own proprietary whatever,
Right.
and that's fine. Everybody everybody's different. You find something that works, kind of like you're saying. I love the properties, and I did a bunch of research. We found like this independent website that reviews mattresses and types and fabrics and materials, like all this stuff, way too in depth. Semi autistic people having a good time with it. But we found that there's a lot of these mattresses, or not a lot, but there's this special type of mattress. It's called latex foam that they make these mattresses out of. Um, I got a kid screaming.
Oh,
What's wrong? What's wrong? One sec.
you're good.
that'll be
Is
fun to
she
cut out.
okay?
Yeah, just a bonk. That's it.
Oh,
Small kids and bonks. Um,
latex
so yeah,
mattress.
so the it's not like a latex glove. It's
Right,
a similar material. It's and
but
there's
it's
all these
foamed.
different, but it's foamed, right? Um, and it's basically has these properties where it doesn't compress as much as memory foam. So people love memory foam, right? Because you sit in it and it just like forms to your body. But if you're actually trying to sleep, you kind of need like your hips and your shoulders, like things need to be more like elevated, supported.
Hmm.
And so, and memory foam is called that because when you squish it in and you pull your hand out, there's a
Retains the
memory of
shape,
your hand. It retains the shape. And so what you want is you want something that is compressive, that will compress when you lay on it,
but
but that
supportive.
supportive and reforms quickly. So like a bounce back kind of idea, right? Like it
Yeah,
quickly goes back to the shape that it was because that means it's supporting your body as you shift and roll through the
right.
night. Anyway, so latex foam has basically all those properties, and you can get it in different densities. So we found this company is an online company. We paid a way more money than I've ever spent on almost anything in my life for a mattress, and
Yeah.
what we really loved it because it comes in actually three parts. So there's a base, like 8-inch foundation kind of thing.
Hmm.
So the mattress itself is like 10 inches. Eight is the base, and then 2 inches is like a topper, and it's made of the same
Right.
latex foam, but you can get it in a different density. So you get the bottom 8 inches in like a super dense, hard, almost hard foam that's super supportive, and then the top 2 inches become like your more squishy. And there's like a scale 1 to 8, one being super soft, eight being super dense. And my wife was like, let's just get like a 7. And I was
Oh
like,
wow, right
I
up
was
there.
thinking like a 4. She's like, no, I think we're going to do a 7. And she's like, and if you don't like it, the really nice thing is that the 2-inch topper comes in two pieces.
Oh,
So you
okay.
can do a his and hers and then
Nice.
and then you wrap it in like the actual mattress cover. Um, I was like, all right, I'll get your 7. If I don't like it, I'm going to get a 4 or 5 and we'll just swap it out. She's like, okay. And I have not swapped it out. I'm on like the second firmest that this mattress company offers. And every time we come home from trips, from travel, from
Just
anything, I'm
can't
just
wait to get
like,
to your own
ah,
bed.
my bed is the most comfortable bed I've ever slept in my life.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I 100% agree. That is one of the best ways to find real good deep rest and sleep and recovery is make that a priority.
Make it a nice place to be because you're totally right. When we would go out to hotels, sometimes we'd get into beds out there because we've tried a bunch of mattresses. We had a purple for a while. I liked it,
Mm,
her not so much, which I understand. Um, but we get to hotels and we'd be like, "Oh, this is so nice. Oh, this is so nice." And now they're nice, but when we get home, we're just like, "Oh yeah,
this
this
is the
is
what
this
kind of
is."
mattress do you guys have?
Um, I'd have to look it up. I think it was a Sealy or a
Okay.
what's the other one that starts with an S? I don't remember, but yeah, we tried it at a mattress store,
Yeah,
and it was when we both lay down, both of us immediately were like,
this is the one.
yeah, like I could have taken a nap right there.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem we have is Becca is very tiny, but she likes things
Yeah.
very soft. She does prefer something softer, at least like
Yeah.
directly up against her. I prefer firm.
Yeah.
I like sometimes just laying on the ground on my back,
Yeah.
and that just feels fantastic. So what we found was this one has the pillow top. She's so small that she kind of floats on the softer part on top. I have enough weight that I sink past that to the firmer part below, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I also sleep very hot. That's why I love the
Yep.
purple personally because it was the coolest
Yeah.
mattress I'd ever been on. But this one does a great job.
Yeah.
As far as a regular, I think it's a hybrid.
Yeah. I
Um,
love I
it works
love
great.
super domestic conversations like this. This is what I wanted when you get married, you have kids, you're like, yep, this is what I want to
But
spend my time talking about.
this is a big deal because
Oh yeah,
like
hundred
this really is
percent.
an area that people need to give it the weight that it deserves in your
Mm-hmm.
marriage, in your life. Like you need to protect this part of your life. You're talking earlier about not getting good sleep. Niles came into our room again one night and it destroyed my sleep. Part of when
Mm-hmm.
you get really good sleep, like it's really built really well. It's very dark. When you make something that is that engineered sound, a speck of sand will
Yeah.
ruin, your
Yeah.
computer chip kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, And so he came in, and then the next day was a lot harder. Woke up with a headache, all that kind of stuff. But for me, it's worth very much that investment
Yeah.
because 95% of the time I am getting way better sleep, which translates to every single part of my life. Even when I take a nap, I can just go to my room. I can take cat naps now. That's now available to me because of the situation we've set up. So I don't get all
Mm-hmm.
groggy and I can just be asleep for 15, 20
Oh yeah.
minutes.
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah, that's, I mean, obviously one small part of overall rest and recovery, but with investing your time, even sitting down watching a movie with your kids or whatever it is, you're having a movie night with your family or playing a game night, even if you're active, that can be a form of rest
Yeah. Yeah.
activity away from a primary stressor for you, like work. Sometimes after a week like that, you might need nothing. You might need an active vacation at the beach. That's up for every individual person on what it is that reignites them inside. I often struggle with that, actually. Vacations are not always very recuperative. When we did our snowboarding trip
Yep.
a few months back, I'm glad we were able to do it. It was not a very recovering type trip, even though it was totally separate from work. The type of thing I was doing did not give me the space to really find any rest.
Mm-hmm.
At least not as much as I should. I shouldn't complain. I'm very grateful
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we were able to do that. But this, and we're going to continue to reiterate this, is how personal every path is for everyone. And I just can't stress enough how important it is to really take that inventory, understand yourself, understand what works, what doesn't, and really look. Be honest. Am I spending my time doing this thing, or is it actually a
Mm,
path? Because when I'm done with it, I feel better. I have more space to take care of my responsibilities. My agency has expanded. When you're done with rest, you should feel like you are more capable of making choices when conflicts are presented to you, right? If
exactly.
not, then your agency has contracted. You are now less capable. You have
Mm,
less available options that you can choose from. And so that's the rubric for me. Am I doing something where when something that requires my attention comes along, do I feel more capable in accomplishing that thing or less capable? And that I really like viewing things that way.
yeah. Yeah. I love that as well. That you just you got to find and pick activities that actually make you progress on that kind of journey on that road and give you the tools to recover.
Yeah.
Um, I've really enjoyed. I was thinking about this when you were talking about RC cars, but I think that I saw something about the neuroscience of doing activities that you used to do when you were kids or listening to the music that you used to listen to when you were a teenager have
I've been
really,
doing a
really
lot of
like
that.
beneficial mental health things because it actually like will help you not retreat, but like bring back kind of
Reconnect.
reconnect and help your brain refocus on a time when you actually didn't have that many responsibilities, right? And it helps
Yeah.
to kind of like, okay, maybe things will kind of be okay. um I was thinking specifically, we over the Christmas holidays we started doing a ton of puzzles, and it's dropped off because work has been crazy, but I've just been going to the thrift store, picking up a couple of puzzles for a couple bucks, and then coming home and we
Mm-hmm.
do them with the kids. And my wife really, really likes puzzles. That's actually what I got her for Christmas. Um, and I was just thinking about, I brought back this puzzle we got at Costco, and
Oh, those are
we
what, thousand
just,
piece puzzles?
yeah, yeah,
Those
pretty
big
good
boys.
size one, yeah. And I brought him back and was just like, yeah, well, this will just be a fun thing to do. It was actually, I think I mentioned this. This was when we were doing a little screen time hiatus um, early on in the pod, but we spent an entire Saturday morning. I mean, like 8 a.m. to like 2 p.m. doing a puzzle on our
Doing a
kitchen
puzzle.
table. And I just remember, I still think about how that felt. And as we've talked about recovery and rest, I keep coming back to that feeling of like, we completed that puzzle and it felt really good, like all that accomplishment, dopamine, serotonin, all that good stuff. Also, it was just so restful. It was
Yeah.
so peaceful
You
to
didn't feel
just do
drained when you're
something.
done,
And it felt so odd. Like when we first kind of started, it got, it was like 10, 11 o'clock. And we're like, we haven't done anything today. We had, it was a Saturday morning. We should have been doing chores, dishes, laundry, like all of the normal Saturday things. We just didn't. and we just did our puzzle, and I felt a little guilty for a while, and then I was like, you know what? I'm hanging out with my wife. She works all the time and I'm home with the kids. Like, it's just nice to spend some time. Like, we weren't necessarily talking. I think we turned on some music at one point. It was just nice to be together, doing something, using, like using a part of our brain that, we don't use on a regular basis. And the kids would come in and do a couple pieces and then leave. And so we got to hang out with them a little bit. It was just this whole Saturday morning that I'm like, man, I gotta recreate that more, I think. And maybe it's
How
not
did you
puzzles,
feel
but it's,
afterwards? Like at two
but
o'clock when
that's
you
the
guys were
thing. Yeah.
done.
We finished and then we just did all of our chores.
Wonderful.
And it was just like, wow, we got done what we could. It was, like I said, it was just like this whole day. I spent way too much time doing this puzzle from like an objective perspective. But at the same time, that's what I mean. Like when
It
I
was
think
exactly
about
perfect.
what it means to rest, to recover mentally, emotionally, and physically, like it's like that's kind of what I'm chasing now, is that
Yeah.
like perfect morning of doing a puzzle with my wife. um and then that's kind of what I think about a lot now. uh is, okay, how do I get back to that? And it's literally like, work, tax season's over, and it was literally, yes, it was on Wednesday. Thursday morning, I woke up, started doing some chores, and I actually had that thought. I was like, I should go get a new puzzle because we were
Oh,
doing that, and it was so fun, and it was so enjoyable. And I was like, yeah, I think that's what needs to happen. Like this
and
weekend is,
that's great. And I think
yeah.
that kind of recognition that like, oh, I feel better after that. Most people are not stopping to recognize that in the moment. And so if you can at least do it in hindsight, that's where you're going to find the activities that you're actually that offer you that sort of recovery in a way that is specific to you.
And
Some people might get very stressed out with puzzles,
yes,
and that's
yes,
not the thing.
sure.
But
Hmm.
like that feeling is accessible to everyone, where when you are done, you are able to detach in a way that when you come back into the world, you're like, I am ready for the day. And that's what you want to find.
And I think there was a couple of things as I've thought about it since that really stood out to me that I've kind of internalized. One is that the purpose is just to finish the puzzle. Nobody, you don't get any social clout for finishing a puzzle, you know? And you could post it on your social media, but like nobody does that.
Okay.
Nobody
Yeah.
cares, right? Like, good job, you did a puzzle. It is a very personal and internal thing to be like, oh, it was nice to do that. It was a challenge and we did it. And so there's that aspect of it, there's no external validation really. It's all internal, which felt really good. And the second thing is, um, you can't solve it with the internet, right? There's no, I feel like you get into this mental space, and I'm guilty of this as anybody, that you're constantly just like, okay, how do I fix this? Can I just talk to an AI chatbot to
Find a
get like
YouTube
a
video.
list? Can I watch a YouTube video? My kids are bad, the food is gross, the toilet's leaking, like all of these things, right? You're constantly, you're using your brain, you're trying to solve problems, you're having challenges that you need to overcome. And most of those things you can just find an answer or get started on that road with the internet or AI or something. And when you're doing a puzzle for your own internal validation, you can't, like, what are you going to do?
And with
I'm
your family,
sure,
you
right.
know?
I'm sure there's an app to take a picture of a bunch of puzzle pieces and tell you where they all go. But that's almost as much work, right? Like,
Right.
it's like, well, the app's just going to be like, it's over there on the table, and you pick it up and you put it. It's like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
Like, it's a
My goal
thing,
is to just focus on this and nothing else. Like,
right? It's a thing that doesn't ask or need any internet. It doesn't need to
yeah.
be connected. It has no purpose other than just do an activity, solve these, put these things together. It's tangible, it's physical. I could go do puzzles on an app, but it's that touching. You're here in reality. You're building something. I'm hyping up puzzles a little too much. I'm not even that into puzzles. I just enjoy doing it with my wife. Right?
I'm
She's
the
into
same way.
puzzles,
I
but it's
enjoy puzzles, but I'm not a
as I've
puzzle seeker outer.
as I've reflected on it, it just has all these kind of aspects that, again, it's not about the puzzle. It's how can you recreate kind of those same ideas, right? Of I'm doing something for myself. There is no external validation. It's internal validation. It's helping me process. It's giving me time and space to think. There is no, right, I'm not doing it as a challenge. There's no leaderboard for who can complete this the fastest,
It allows you to enjoy just being.
right? And I'm not the kind of person that's going to frame this. I'm not going to seal the puzzle and put it in a
Right.
frame. Like, and so it really is, it becomes this fleeting, tangible, like moment, capsule moment in time. We do the puzzle, we look at it, maybe take a picture just for posterity, and then you just tear it down and you put it back in the
Yeah.
box. And it's that experience that I just think I need to probably do that more. That it's benefit, like the benefit is just for its own sake, right?
Yeah.
You're just doing it to for its own sake, and
Yeah.
and you capture that moment. You do it with people that you care about, and then you put it
Yeah.
away. You break it down into 1,000 pieces, put it back in a box, and it goes into the spare bedroom until the next time somebody wants to build that specific puzzle.
Right. Yeah. And that's what hobbies, like, I think that's what people try to get from hobbies, which hobbies can get out of hand. I know some people are very serious about puzzles, but
The
I
guy with
think
3D
you,
printers behind him says,
yeah. But this is something I can go back to. I made something this morning where it's relaxing for me to have a simple problem for no one else other than I'm solving a problem for myself. I do a
mm-hmm.
design, the design works, and I'm just like, that was nice. You know, that felt
Yeah.
good. And then I'm able to get right back into the day. But something that I was thinking about, you're talking about getting back to moments of your life where you didn't have as much stress. I think some people might interpret that as escaping, but I don't think that's what it is. I mean, it can be, right? Like there's
Sure.
people who are stuck
Yeah.
in the past, right? You peak
100%.
in high school
Yep.
and
Hang
it's easy to
out
get
there.
stuck there. Yep. But what it can be used as, and I think you're alluding to, is reconnecting to those moments so you can remember what that felt like.
Yeah.
Because I know I forget when I'm so busy what it feels like to truly just be, right? I'm feeling the next thing that's coming up. I'm feeling my responsibility. I'm feeling the pressure of that the shed that I need to clean and I don't have a date for. And every day I put it off, it gets worse. I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
that. And what that does is allow you to access those moments where you can disconnect in a way that is recoverative, not just
Mm-hmm.
escaping, but recoverative. And so
Yes.
that's one thing I noticed. The reason we bought the MR2, we are not one to just go buy a sports car. Um, but I always wanted another one. I had a MR2 in high school, and so I got the 2003 version. And it represented, like you said, a moment for me that really does bring peace. And so
Mm-hmm.
driving down the street, shifting through gears, listening to music, it hits me in such a way that no matter what's going on, I can't help but just feel at ease. I can't help but feel just present. I'm not thinking about anything that, stresses me out. I'm just being, and I feel better when I get to my destination.
Mm-hmm.
And then when my wife and I go on dates, like it feels good. Like it's a nice place to be. And so that is something that we are able to access those feelings through. It's a
Mm-hmm.
conduit to find that peace and that recovery. And so everyone's got to find what that is for them. Find something constructive or something that is peaceful that allows you to have those feelings again. Because we are not very good at just turning those on,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
I'm not good at
You need
meditating.
triggers. You need to put those in your
Yes.
life to get you there.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's been very helpful. And I've felt it in my day to day. I have more patience during the really hard times to just sit and be with my kids. I'm not perfect, but because of these little things that we're building in our lives with the sleeping and the date nights and these little things, they start to paint a picture, and the picture might still have a few dark colors, but we are able to just wade through those dark colors a lot easier. We're able to get through it a lot easier. And it's like this wonderful feeling when you're able to be more in practice of that. And I want other people, if they aren't having that, to understand the message that you can. There are ways to
Mm.
get there. and hopefully they can really find those ways and trust that they can access that.
Yeah, I'm
So
just as you were talking, I'm realizing that my version of that is when I go on bike rides, because I grew up riding bikes all the time. My dad was way into it. He used to race bikes in college. He's always loved bikes, repairing them, building them, all of that stuff. I've had a bike. I mean, cycling is a huge part of my life, most of my life, right? Um, and when I went out and got a little e-bike so that I could tow a trailer easier with my kids.
right.
And I think I mentioned this before, but I absolutely love dropping my kids off at school in the morning. Like it's one of my favorite things. And we're here in Utah, and it just got snow.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
just got, and
we're
it's
snowing
like,
right now. It's snowing
yeah,
right now.
it's
It was
so
75
frustrating.
yesterday.
I'm so frustrated because I don't get to do that stuff, and I'm always looking for excuses to ride my bike, and I'm trying even now. I'm like, I want to start grocery shopping. I'm looking at like big trailers, but like bike trailers that are like 4-foot trailers so that I could do it. My goal is this year, I want to do a Costco run on my
On your
bike.
bike. Dude, you should
It's
build one.
ambitious, but I'm looking at a couple different options. But I'm just remembering, right? Like one of the reasons that I love doing that and I love that experience. And a lot of times I'll put the kids to bed, and if it's still light out, I'll just do a gas station run on my bike, right? For a
Yeah.
soda and whatever to hang out. And it's that same thing, that feeling. You're talking about like the shifting of the gears, the listening to
Oh
music.
my
It's
gosh.
to me like the sound of the tires and the wind blowing through your hair and your legs moving, and you're just kind of zipping around corners and doing stuff that you told your kids not to because it's sketchy and dangerous. And you're like, but I'm an
But I'm
adult.
an
I'm going to do
adult.
whatever I want, right? Like hopping curbs, and it feels just like I'm a 12-year-old kid on a BMX bike again. And it's that same thing, right? You find those moments of kind of like peace that kind of recenter you and reconnect you to, and then you get home and you're like, maybe life just isn't that stressful, right? Like maybe I do like, yeah, I do have a lot more responsibilities than I did when I was a teenager, but
And I think
I think I might be able to manage these.
a good rubric on whether or not you found that thing is, would you do this if there was no one else left on earth? Like,
Yeah.
does it bring that feeling regardless of who's watching and who's around? And for me,
Yeah.
like the car, even though it's kind of a flashy car, if I had all the money in the world, well, that's a bad example. If I had all the money in the world, I would get a different car. So this is one I do have access to, but
Yeah.
I did not get it for anyone else. I don't care who's out there. I do it
Yeah.
because of the feelings it gives me and my wife or me and my kids with the top down
Yeah.
while we're driving.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when you're on your bike, I have an electric longboard and I love riding that thing. When I carve up a hill on an e-board,
Yeah.
like you're saying, jumping the curb, there's a feeling in me where I'm just big sweeping carves and it
Yeah.
just takes me out of myself and it's peace. Right. And I love it. That is rest. That is recovery, when you can
Yeah.
have those moments of peace, whether it's through quiet activities, sleep, or a physical activity or intellectual engagement. Like it's one of those things, it when you spot it.
Yeah. I love that. That feels like a good place to wrap up.
Yeah.
on that note, on that message. Yeah,
May all of you
I
find your
hope.
peace.
Yeah, I hope everybody has something like that out there that they can figure something out to give themselves a little breather, a little break, a little rest, recovery, and figure it out for themselves. So,
Yeah, because they're going to have to. We're not going to have all the answers for them. Or any.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Michael. We appreciate you hopping on to chat about fatherhood, parenting, rest, recovery, and ways to be less grumpy. I'm Nate again. I make hot sauce. You're welcome to check me out at grumpydadhotsauce.com. Still only selling in Utah, but I will be at a farmer's market, at least in the fall, and hopefully nationwide before too long.
Cool. And I'm Mike. If you're in the firearms stuff, we have cavemanllc.net. We've got some cool stuff over there. And then on the 3D print side, express3dcustoms.etsy.com. You can see some of the models that I've designed and I sell over there.
All right.
Thanks,
See you
man.
next week.
See you next week.
And we're out.
Sweet.
I think if I press stop, it kicks you.
Yeah, I think it kicks you actually. I stay in chat. I always stay here, and then you get dumped out, and then you come back.